Hello, welcome to another episode of Technically Analytics. Today we're going to be talking about more Asian pitching and players. Yes, it's nonstop. And in this episode, we're going to be going through quite a few because I got down a little rabbit hole that I didn't know existed. So, first up, I want to talk about the Padres signing Korean pitcher. You can see his name on screen. I'm going to call him Go because I don't want to pronounce it since it's hard to pronounce. Uh, anyway, Mr. Go is a relief pitcher. He's a right-handed pitcher. He's a closer from Korea, 25 years old. And Mr. Go is actually pretty dang good. He's pretty good. He was pretty decent, especially in 2019 and 2021, 2022, even in 2023, he was respectable. 3 ERA, 3.68 ERA rather, 1.48 ERA, 2.17 ERA. And then in 2020, 4.10, kind of a little setback there, but 1.52 in 2019. And he struggled a little bit when he first got in, but he was only 18, 19, so you can kind of discount that as being a little bit of struggle for his first few years in the league. And this is the KBO that he played in. And as you can see, even his like peripheral stuff, like his whip, is pretty decent. He doesn't allow that many base runners. I mean, it goes up and down. Obviously, he's not super consistent, but consistent enough. Hits is it bounces around. His home runs are very low though. He only allowed over one home run once per 9. His walks are pretty good. He looks like he has a few control issues at times, and his strikeouts are really good. I mean, 12 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts. So, he's improving, going from 2020 to, or rather from 2019 to 2023. He increased 3 strikeouts per 9, which is decent. And the Padres signed him to be a closer. Now, you might be asking, okay, so they signed this guy. How much did they sign him for? Well, it was a 2-year, $4.5 million deal. So pretty cheap, I would say. Pretty cheap. And you might be asking yourself, okay, but this guy isn't like, Yamamoto or Senga or Otani. So what, is there any comparison for these kind of guys, these relief guys that come over? Well, there is. So there was a pitcher that played for the Diamondbacks and a couple other teams. His name is Kim. You can see his name on screen, his rest of his name. Right-handed pitcher. He played in 2007, his last game, and he started in 1999. So he played quite a while, had a long career, 10.6 WAR, 54 wins, 4.4 ERA, so not the best ERA, but he had some good seasons. But this video isn't really about him. He also did some relief work. I think he has started a few games, and you can see his overall stats there. So a decent career. But this is kind of a long time ago, right? Like 2007 is like forever ago. So we're gonna talk about another pitcher that's actually playing currently in the MLB, and you can see his name on screen, O. And Mr. O is a right-handed pitcher. He plays currently for the Rockies. You can see his hat. And you can see his stat. We're gonna look into his stats now. His stats are a little bit strange. Like he started with the Cardinals in 2016, and then he went to Toronto, and then he ended up in Colorado the last couple of years. And he hasn't played in a while. Actually, I was wrong. Sorry. He stopped playing in 2019. But he played more recently. It's more of a recent guy. He isn't, it's only it's still 4 years to be fair, but, and you can see why he probably retired though in his last season. It's ugly. That stat line is horrible, but I can explain. But for the rest of his career, he was pretty lights out. I mean, his whip looks really good, just hovering right around 1.0, 1.3 at one point, but that's fine. Even below 1, which is like really good. That means like less than a base runner per inning. This is really good. His FIP is good. His ERA plus is really good. Like he came in the league just lighting it up. He even had Rookie of the Year votes. So you could tell this guy is actually a pretty good pitcher. Like he really came in the league and dominated, actually. So this is encouraging, right? Like, this is an encouraging career to look at for a guy. And by the way, the other guy, he was the only Korean pitcher or player actually to win a World Series. He won it with the Diamondbacks in 2001. So that's a fun fact. And when you look at going back to look at O's stats, or his ratios rather, and you see that it was kind of like an arbitrary thing, like an outlier, like probably something to do with Colorado. But the one thing I was looking at was, all right, is he a ground ball guy or is he a fly ball guy? Turns out he's actually a ground ball guy, or he was when he first came in the league, which explains why he was so dominant. But then he slowly started kind of becoming more of a fly ball guy as his career went on. And then that percentage kind of flipped. And then he kind of just, I mean, it was the strikeouts that really hurt him. He couldn't throw strikes. You could see that his walk rate, even though it went down, his walk rate went up, or his walk rate was like, his strikeout rate went down significantly. That's the problem. And his home run rate went significantly up rather than down. The walk rate went down a little bit, but the home runs went up. So he was missing the zone. He was missing inside the zone rather than outside the zone, which that's going to lead to home runs, unfortunately, for him. But he was a really good pitcher if you take out 2019. He's pretty old, though, when he came in the league at 33. And Woo-Suk Go is... I forgot how old he was. He was 25. So he's similar age to Yamamoto in age. So seeing those other pitchers that came in the league and had their careers, they did okay, right? I mean, some did, like, they were like okay pitchers, decent pitchers, and then some were like pretty good. And then you see Senga, he performed well his first season. So, and we'll see how Yamamoto does. We'll see how this guy does. I mean, right now Fangraphs is projecting him to have a 3.83 ERA, 0.4 WAR. They're thinking like 10 strikeouts, looks like 4 walks per 9, 1 home run per 9, 291 BABIP, 74% left on base, and they're thinking he's going to be about 40% ground ball percentage. So we'll see how that works out. And you can see how that compares to his stats from the KBO. It's pretty similar, maybe a little lower because MLB competition's a little bit harder than KBO. It's similar to like AAA competition, but they are trying to win. So we'll see what happens. Now, what does this mean for the Padres bullpen? Now, in looking at the Padres bullpen, you see there's a lot of guys they had from last year they brought in, and some of them were good, some bad. But most notably, there's another player there, another guy, Matsui, who they also signed, and they signed him to actually a bigger deal than Go, which is interesting because I didn't even hear about this one. Like, I didn't hear about it. I don't remember it. I don't know what happened or when I missed it. I guess it happened in December, but I don't know. I guess I missed it or something because I don't know. But so I was like, oh, I can't possibly go over the bullpen lineup and not talk about Matsui because he's probably an important signing too. He has a 5-year deal, I believe. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's from the same league. He's from the Nippon League, a different league. He's Japanese. And he's 28 years old, so he's right in his prime. So yeah, 5 years, $28 million. He has a player option at 2028, and then he can opt out after 2026. And the player option converts to club with elbow injury. So that's a really interesting quirk in his contract. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's uncommon, but he probably has like recent elbow issues or something. Similar to like the Carlos Correa thing when he had that ankle thing that prevented him from signing with the Mets. Probably a similar deal, but they worked it out. AAV $5.6 million per year, so it's a decent salary. I mean, it's not crazy, but for an unproven reliever in the MLB, it's pretty decent. And this guy actually had a really good career. He was very lights out for a lot of years. I mean, his best year by far was 2021, as you can see. 2015, 2017, these are sub 1 ERAs. and his whip is really good. Like he commonly allows less than one base runner in a lot of years. Like pretty consistently a great pitcher. So I really like this signing. I mean, obviously he's a good pitcher. So with these two in the Padres bullpen, it really gives them the added bullpen help that they probably need. You can see that Cosgrove was one of their best bullpen pitchers, and I think Suarez struggled throughout the season. And the other guys, I'm not really sure. Like 7 ERA, not very great on Marholm. Like he kind of, who knows what you're gonna get with him. And then Castillo, I mean, who knows what you're gonna get with him too. He's claimed off waivers, looks like, from Chicago. So you never know, taking a flyer on him. Santos he was serviceable for sure. So we'll see. I mean, the Padres are gonna need to do more than this. Obviously, they have to compete with the Dodgers, who are just signing everybody and anybody. But I guess getting two, mid tier Japanese relief pitchers is as good as any, right? So we'll see. You have to let the offseason develop, and just stay tuned for the offseason profiles, which will be coming soon in probably mid to late February. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.